So this is the first of my research roundup videos. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while now, and basically I'm just going to be summarizing what I think are the most interesting or important bits of health research that have come out in the last week or two. And this is so that, one, I can keep up with research, but also so you can keep up to date with what researchers are finding, and also so that you don't get information from news stories that tend to not give the whole picture and rely a lot on scare tactics. News stories have about 1 to 2 minutes and they kind of focus on the bad. So hopefully this is just going to help people add to their knowledge banks, and you can take what might be relevant to you in making those small changes to improve your health over time. And so today I've got 3 different research papers that I'll be going through. We're going to be looking into the effectiveness of cold plunges, the importance of social interactions to prevent dementia, and also how long it actually takes to form new habits. So, let's go. So cold water immersion. I'm talking about ice baths, cold plunges, cold showers. These things have become very trendy in the past couple of years. People have been going to great lengths to make them part of morning routines, and apparently if you want optimal performance throughout the day, cold plunges have been suggested as the thing to do. But the question a lot of people have is whether or not it actually does anything for you. And just last week, a study was published that tries to help us answer this. So this was a systematic review and meta-analysis, should be appearing on the screen right now. And the researchers found 11 different studies with 3,000 people included across them. Now, these studies looked at different types of cold water immersion. So these are things like ice baths and cold showers with different temperatures and durations. And the researchers, what they did was they reviewed all of these studies to see what the overall findings are. But unfortunately, the findings are a bit of a mixed bag. The effects seem to change over time. So right after you do a cold plunge or have a cold shower, and for about 1 hour afterwards, your levels of inflammation will actually increase, but this is just a temporary response. About 12 hours later, what they found is stress levels actually do go down. So cold plunges or cold immersion might be a good way to reduce stress, but you shouldn't be expecting immediate results. And so I guess starting the day with the cold plunge then might mean that you could potentially feel less stressed throughout the day. Now, some of the research suggests that it can also improve sleep, but this wasn't very definitive and more research would really be helpful here. The same can be said for effects on the immune system and mood. Now, this study was good because it was, like I said, a systematic review and meta-analysis. These designs tend to be the strongest because they combine many studies to help us get a clearer picture. But the studies included all used different methods of cold water immersion. We had ice baths, we had cold showers, and some other forms, which actually makes it hard to say which is the best. And the other issue is that many of these studies focused on single immersion, so just one cold plunge, rather than looking at the long-term effects. What I think people want to know is what happens when someone does this consistently for months. We don't know, and I think that would be the most useful information, because right now we're just relying on people telling us how they feel when they do it for months. That's not exactly sound research. So, should you be jumping into some cold water? It is a bit early to say. I think there's definitely evidence to suggest that it has some benefits, especially with stress reduction. But in terms of long-term effects, we are still searching. Look, if you are curious about it and you want to have a go, all I can say is start very slowly and see how your body responds, because not everyone is going to be the same with this. And I think that's what is making the research quite difficult. Then there's also many use cases. I know that people do cold plunges in terms of exercise and exercise recovery and performance. There's probably more research in that area. I haven't looked there much, but right now, this meta-analysis has found stress reduction, yes, and potentially better sleep and mood improvements, but not quite as strong as the stress reduction. Alright, so the next study looked at the length of time that it actually takes to get a new habit or behavior to stick. So there's a belief that it takes about 21 days to form a new habit, but a new study did come out very recently that shows this isn't really the case. So we have here, should be appearing on the screen now, it's another systematic review, and they looked at 20 different studies. So these studies looked at different behaviors, from increasing physical activity to maybe eating more healthy and drinking more water or flossing more. And what this research found was that on average it takes between 66 to 106 days to form a new habit and get it to become something automatic that just happens. So that is much longer than 21 days. Now the thing that this research pointed out was that there are lots of things that can impact on this time frame. So the type of habit matters. Some things like trying to drink more water are a lot easier to implement than something like trying to exercise more regularly. Also, habits that are done in the morning seem to be more successful than those that are done at night. And also, people are more successful at forming habits that they choose to do for themselves rather than those assigned to them or someone telling them to do. These are all things that honestly just make sense to me, but there is some research now reflecting it. And so if you are trying to make changes to your day-to-day routine, you need to go into it with realistic expectations and patience. So it may take several months before your changes become automatic. I think a lot of people trying to make changes to their lifestyle get a bit disheartened when after a month they're still not making these changes automatic. Behavior change is incredibly difficult, but it is also incredibly worth it. Now, the last study of today's video is a very interesting one. It investigated the link between social activity and dementia risk in older adults. So this was a longitudinal study. What this means is that it followed the participants over time. So in this case, it was 6 years to see if their social activity levels were related to their risk of developing dementia later in life. Now, this study included 1,923 adults who, at the start of the study, they did not have dementia or any cognitive impairment, and then every year for 6 years they had a check-in to see how they were going. Now, what this study found was some pretty interesting evidence that staying socially active in later life might be able to delay the onset of dementia and also mild cognitive impairment. So the people that were more socially active, they had an average delay of 5 years in the onset of dementia or mild cognitive impairment when compared to those less socially active people. Now, what this actually means is that you might be able to push dementia back 5 years by staying more social. According to this study, social activity was associated with a 38% lower risk of dementia, while loneliness was actually associated with a 40% increased risk of developing dementia. So this just really shows the importance of social connections in later life. Loneliness has been known to be a killer in older adults. So this is just more evidence to prove that. Now, this was an observational study, so we can't say for sure that social activity can reduce the risk of dementia, but it's a good observation to make, especially when we take into consideration that past research has found social activity is good for cognitive function. So these results are good, and it's not the first time that I've seen these results appear in research. So definitely something to pay attention to. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you are an older adult, you should prioritize your social connections. You should join clubs, have regular coffee dates and catch-ups with your friends, volunteer. It all counts. However you can get more social interactions, do them. It might save or help your cognitive function. So that is a wrap up on the first research roundup. Links to all 3 of the studies that I have discussed in this video will be in the description, and I do really encourage you to have a look through them, because I definitely didn't go through everything that they discussed. These are long research papers. If you've seen any interesting research or news stories talking about research, let me know in the comments. If you want me to expand on any of the things that I've talked about in this video, also let me know, because I know I haven't gone into too much depth on cold plunges and things like that. Anything that interests you and you want to know about, just let me know. I will see you in the next video, and until then, keep playing the long game.